Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now August 21st of 2022, and ever since the very end of course, the Book of Boba Fett and the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, a lot of Star Wars fans have really been hoping for the better by Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and yes, even George Lucas, and they are on the path to success, given that Kathleen Kennedy has no creative power at all whatsoever except with the Acolyte series partially and Skeleton Crew. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, on top of all of this, one thing that a lot of Star Wars fans have really been very skeptic about has a lot to do with the future of the franchise and where it's going and what direction it's really going through. Now, we already know that Favreau and Filoni are making sure that Star Wars Legends is going to be a big piece of the upcoming canon material, whether it's going to be about Luke or Anakin or whatever it may be. They want to make sure that Legends is going to have a major influence on many of the already familiar characters that a lot of fans grew up with or are just getting to know right now. Now, with that being said, we already know that Favreau discussed this before in the past, that there are a lot of changes coming our way with Star Wars lore affecting some of the already existing lore, and how Legends is going to actually have a lot to do with that, and how they have a lot of plans already mapped out to regulate things and to compensate other aspects that are already made canon in the sequel trilogy. Now, with that being said, this is where things begin to get very complex, because Jon Favreau has been pretty tight-lipped about, a lot of the other Star Wars projects, which, by the way, have yet to have been announced, that will be unveiled at D23 and Disney Plus Day. Now, with many new stories from Star Wars Legends already planned to come back into the Disney canon by Favreau and Filoni, currently Favreau is making some big adjustments with the Star Wars universe behind the scenes in order to regulate everything for the fandom. However, in a recent interview with Jon Favreau, he was eventually questioned about retcons and how that's going to impact the sequel trilogy movies. Jon Favreau went on to tease the following to the entire fandom. Well, myself and Dave have a lot going on right now with how we are going to equalize bringing those Legends stories back to the franchise. And yes, we are going to have to make some changes to the existing lore to balance this all out that is going to have some form of change with the sequels. I really can't say much right now, but all these changes that will be made toward the plot elements of the sequels are going to do something with of course, with the upcoming shows that we have planned, and we are planning with our future shows, and also something quite surprising that we have planned with the Ahsoka series that Dave is just so passionate about. I mean, he is giving it his all with this series. There is a big story in there that we are creating that's going to change some of the choices that characters make in the sequels. I really can't get into this too much, but we have George Lucas supervising all of our decisions on this, and Filoni is just doing a phenomenal job and really setting things straight with the lore. So some of the main characters will be going through some changes in the sequel trilogy, to answer your question. Yes, and some of the stories of those films are going to be shifted around to compensate with what we have planned to make things work. So let me just pause here quick for a second before we get on to the next exciting stuff that Jon has to say, is that basically the Ahsoka series is going to have a lot to do with many of the changes coming our way for the sequel trilogy movies. Now, we talked about this before in the past, that it's not just going to be the Ahsoka show, it's going to be the Mandalorian Season 4, and the next phase of Star Wars TV shows that will be announced next year at Celebration. So just be aware that Favreau has a lot in store for the fans. A lot of things, a lot of tricks up his sleeves, so to speak, that are going to be revealed in the next couple of months. So that's going to be a very exciting thing to actually think about and to wait for. Now, here's another thing that I think fans need to know that's very important, is that Kathleen Kennedy is trying to actually prevent all of this from happening, and at no, progression. She's not getting what she wants, which is a good thing. Disney executives have had it up to here with Kathleen Kennedy, and they're siding more with Favreau and his approach to Star Wars, and it's just gonna work for the best. That's what they need in order to really make this a successful franchise moving ahead. Now, moving forward from all of this, alright, so on top of that, alright, separate from what Favreau stated here, this all alludes to a big scene that is set to be filmed by this October for the Ahsoka series that involves the world between worlds, which is essentially the destination for time travel created by Dave Filoni. Now, one of the storyboards already designed for Ahsoka involves a full-on scene in which Ahsoka is meeting with Force ghosts of the past in the world between worlds while looking through a portal to both Rey and Ben Solo in a strange environment. Now, Favreau plans to use archived footage from The Rise of Skywalker to use for the portal scenes and to repurpose them for the Ahsoka show. This, at no surprise, is something that Kathleen Kennedy is not thrilled about at all, and is trying to put a stop to it at all costs before it happens. This also alludes to the fact that Mara Jade is also planned by Favreau to exist during the events of the destruction of Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple. This is set to become canon as a new reason why Luke Skywalker vanishes after the death of his wife. Another change that Favreau is embracing is making it that Palpatine temporarily corrupted Luke to attempt to strike down Ben Solo in The Last Jedi flashback. Favreau is giving new meaning to many scenes that will be made canon in both live-action form and in the upcoming books, novels, and comics. So here's another thing that I think a lot of fans need to be aware of as well, is that the Mandalorian series is basically a foundation that's going to branch off to other spin-off shows, which already exist. We have the Book of Boba Fett, and the season 2 for that show is also coming out in the near future. We have the Ahsoka series and the Bo-Katan show, which is going to be announced as well in the next couple of months. So, basically, he wants to create multiple foundations right now. He wants to focus on multiple eras that's going to create these branches, these new storylines that we have never seen before. So, I gotta give Jon Favreau a lot of credit. You know, he's teasing a lot of things here. He's really making sure that he's trying to build up the hype for the fans, to really give something very exciting to look forward to really give the fans, you know, a lot of, you know, excitement, so to speak, for all of these new characters and the Legends characters to come back. So, one thing that I think a lot of fans also need to be aware of is that Mando 4 is going to be doing something very big with Luke Skywalker that's going to change the course of the canon in the sequel trilogy movies as well. And we're going to be learning a lot more about that in 2023 slowly, so stay tuned. Overall, Mark Hamill has actually admitted in the past that it has been the greatest time of his life to work with Favreau over what was done in the sequels, because he got to get involved with the Luke Skywalker that he always wanted to actually deal with. Not Jake Skywalker as he calls him in the sequels, right? So, it is quite an honor to have Jon, George, and Dave working on everything Star Wars moving ahead, and exactly where it's all gonna go. And at the end of the day, let's face it, we have, of course, Star Wars Andor, which I believe is gonna get a lot of mixed reactions, you know. Jon and Dave were not involved with that, so we'll have to wait and see. But beyond that, pretty much every show is going to be supervised and or created by Jon and Dave, and I think that's one thing to really look forward to. Anyways, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.